Today on Investigate TV Plus, people severely injured or even killed by barriers meant to protect you during a car crash. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. We examine the danger of improperly installed guardrails and why the government is not doing more to protect you on the road.
Plus, loneliness and social isolation can lead to serious health conditions in older adults.
Being isolated and alone is so damaging. It puts us in our own head way too much.
We'll show you the simple gestures that can improve their well-being.
And trash talk and mutual respect leave a permanent impression.
This is ACR.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it. That was my first tattoo she let me do on her.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
The Federal Highway Administration defines a guardrail as a safety barrier intended to shield a driver who has left the road.
The American Traffic Safety Association says guardrails can reduce serious injuries up to 47% when they're installed correctly. But when they're not installed correctly, experts say they can turn from life-saving devices to killers on the road.
Reporter Kristen Crowley reveals the extent of the problem and how little is being done to fix it.
For most parents, it's easy to talk about their kids.
Well, he was a good-looking kid. He was a pretty good athlete. He was very smart.
But most parents haven't lost their child.
Just full of life.
Like Joey Beck did.
Why did it have to be him? I would rather it been me.
Seth Beck died in 2019 after crashing into a guardrail on a stretch of highway in Missouri. Crash scene photos from investigators show the mangled steel lying in the road. Seth's car, unrecognizable.
The top of the car was ripped right on the welds, like a can opener. So
From the guardrail?
From the guardrail went straight through, all the way out his car.
Before your son's crash, had you ever heard of any issues of people dying after hitting guardrails?
No.
But some experts,
This one happens to be a case in Illinois
like attorney Kent Emison,
where a man was killed.
who has handled more than a dozen guardrail injury and death cases, says it's more common than people realize.
This is the faceplate, the end terminal here, and where it elbowed and went through the car and killed a man.
Emison says these cases span across the country where guardrails have speared vehicles, causing serious injuries like leg amputations, or worse, killing people.
Several people were killed in Missouri, near Columbia, Missouri, when the guardrail went right through a GM Tahoe.
And in many of those cases, he says the guardrails were installed improperly.
People can't understand how the smallest error in assembling an end terminal and guardrail could result in a death.
Emison showed us this example of one of those small errors.
Is that simply putting this bracket upside down caused the failure. Improper installation and caused the failure.
In 2020 in Oklahoma, a 54-year-old woman hit this guardrail.
The end terminal and guardrail went right through this full-size pickup and killed the lady driving this pickup in 2020.
Emison says any installation error could contribute to the guardrail locking up, turning the device into a spear.
They need to understand the amount of technical finesse that goes into a guardrail design.
Brian Kuhn is a crash reconstructionist who's inspected hundreds of guardrail crashes for attorneys and has a doctorate in engineering. He says he's seen dozens of crashes involving guardrails that people should have been able to walk away from, but instead, they were killed.
The problem with installation of guardrail is it looks like nuts and bolts and you just assemble it, but it actually does require training.
But the federal government does not require training and doesn't have standards for who can install or replace guardrails, saying that decision is up to the states. Private contractors and DOT workers often do the installation and repairs, but that's not always the case. This lawsuit, filed in Florida, alleges inmates repaired a damaged guardrail improperly, causing a man to lose his leg after he crashed into it.
Is it safe to say that there are tens of thousands of guardrails on the roads right now that are misinstalled?
At some level, yes.
Could the federal government do something to make guardrails safer?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They could require more inspections. They could require more testing.
More inspections is exactly what a transportation research group urged the Federal Highway Administration to do, saying every guardrail should get a comprehensive in-service performance evaluation. That was back in 2014, and Emison says that still hasn't happened. Until it does, he says deaths from improperly installed guardrails will continue.
How well known do you think this issue is among most Americans?
Almost no one is aware of it.
But the DOTs, they know.
They know.
The manufacturers know.
They know.
The FHWA knows.
They know. Absolutely.
And now, Joey Beck knows just how catastrophic this device meant for safety can be.
I always thought guardrails are there to protect you from your car rolling over here or going in the river.
Now what do you think about them when you see guardrails?
It's death.
The Federal Highway Administration is responsible for making sure our roads are safe. It declined to sit down for an interview about our country's guardrail system and the calls for more inspections. It would only say each state is responsible for its own roads. Reporter Kristen Crowley joins us now. Kristen, what do we want to know from the Federal Highway Administration?
Well, Lita, put it simply, we want to know why. Why doesn't it require states to train people to install guardrails? Why doesn't it require states to inspect guardrails after they are repaired or replaced to make sure the work was done properly? And why doesn't it look at these guardrails after deadly crashes to see if there was an issue? Well, these are questions we will continue pressing the federal government on as we continue our reports on dangerous guardrails.
Have any states made efforts to address their problems?
Yeah, Florida recently reviewed all of its guardrails. That's 26,000 of them to make sure they were in compliance. And the Florida DOT tells me it found about a third of them were not. They're working at repairing or replacing all of those and hope to have that work done by December of 2023.
Still to come, many people of color face unique challenges when it comes to diagnosing and treating skin conditions. We show you why choosing the right dermatologist is a choice that's more than skin deep. But first,
I'm just glad to have a conversation with someone who's smart and has things to share and to offer.
Older adults foster friendships to combat what the U.S. Surgeon General says is an epidemic. We break down the physical consequences of loneliness and social isolation and tell you where you can turn for help.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes.
It's been so long since we spoke, though. Have you been?
Tell me everything.
A simple phone call can provide connection and conversation that many older adults need. The National Council on Aging estimates about 1/4 of Americans aged 65 and older are considered to be socially isolated, and a significant portion of adults in the U.S. report feeling lonely.
The National Institutes of Health defines loneliness as the feeling of being alone regardless of the amount of social contact. Social isolation is a lack of social connections. The National Institute on Aging says some of the risk factors for loneliness and social isolation include a major life change, money struggles, trouble hearing, and living in rural or hard-to-reach neighborhoods.
Well, we examine the impact of loneliness and social isolation on older Americans' health and the programs available to help them connect with others.
I find you're a very good listener, and so it's easy to talk to you.
Meet Mark. He lives outside Hartford, Connecticut, and was looking to make a connection or perhaps a friend.
Somebody on the Granby Facebook page mentioned this program.
What he found was for all ages, which pairs senior citizens with college-aged adults. As part of the program, Mark started talking to a college student named Gift. who says Mark's friendship was something she needed as well.
Something about him just feels so warm. He's so genuine and honest.
But more than just friendship, programs like For All Ages can provide a critical lifeline for seniors. That's because the National Institute on Aging says they're at a higher risk for social isolation and loneliness due to changes in health and social connections. In other words, loneliness and social isolation not only make older adults feel bad, they're also a health risk. An April 2021 report from the CDC echoes this, calling loneliness and social isolation a serious public health risk in older adults.
The research will show impacts on things like cardiovascular disease, stroke, dementia, anxiety, depression, and even premature death.
The National Institute on Aging says people who are socially isolated may get too little exercise, drink too much alcohol, smoke, and often don't sleep well, which can further increase the risk of serious health conditions. It can also be bad for brain health. Studies have linked loneliness and social isolation to poor cognitive function and higher risk for dementia, including and especially Alzheimer's disease.
Being isolated and alone is so damaging. It puts us in our own head way too much. We focus a whole lot more on our physical ailments and aches. When we're with other people, we feel a sense of purpose, that we matter to other people.
Studies show fitness programs and recreational activities can help older Americans overcome negative feelings. In Sarasota, Florida, Ron Longhurst says he made the decision to start going to a local senior center.
I was living by myself, feeling very alone, very isolated, and I came here, and I've been coming almost every day since.
The National Institute on Aging says it's important for older Americans to stay active and connect with others. Other ways to combat loneliness and social isolation include volunteering, scheduling time each day to stay in touch with family and friends, adopting a pet, or signing up for an online or in-person class to learn how to use email or social media.
It's been so long since we spoke, though. Have you been?
Tell me everything.
As for Mark, he's thankful for the connection he found on social media.
She's an easy person to talk to, so I'm just glad to have a conversation with someone who's smart and, and has things to share and to offer, and she certainly does.
Whether you're excited or not for graduating, I'm excited for you, so.
Oh, thank you.
The National Institutes of Health suggests talking to a doctor or other health professional if you're feeling lonely a lot of the time. Experts say to make sure you're open and honest with your doctor about your health habits and what's happening in your life. It will help them to understand your emotional health more fully and recommend the best options for you. And you know what I like? You don't have to have something obviously in common to start a conversation and a friendship that benefits both of you.
Well, you look at the two in that story. I mean, they were separated by generations, yet seemed to hit it off and gave each other a lot. Both of them added to the relationship there. It's very nice. It was a win-win for all of them. Very nice. All right, still to come.
How old were you in 1989?
I wasn't born.
You weren't born yet.
A writer and artist separated by generations discovered they are better together.
But first, from finding a dermatologist to getting the proper diagnosis and treatment, we break down the unique challenges people of color face when it comes to skincare.
When it comes to dermatology, black and brown skin tones are often misrepresented in books meant to teach doctors.
Doctors at Stanford University say the shortfall could contribute to racial disparities in diagnosis and treatment. A 2018 review of medical textbooks by Social Science and Medicine found most of the patients in those images are white, and only 4.5% of the images show dark skin. As a result, medical students and residents don't often learn about skin conditions experienced primarily by patients of color.
Reporter Brittany Ford examines the hurdles the black community faces as they search for a diagnosis and treatment for problems with their skin.
36-year-old Alicia Bridges was diagnosed with plaque psoriasis at the age of 7.
It impacted every part of my life, from being involved in sports, activities, even hanging with friends. I always felt out of place.
In what she calls a journey to love the skin she's in.
And I remember the first time I posted a picture online showing my condition and how overwhelming that was.
She's also experienced the challenges that come with the diagnosis.
For African American people, the disease presents differently.
In a season where symptoms of eczema, psoriasis, or even alopecia, common within the Black community, can cause discomfort.
It is extremely uncomfortable for your skin to itch and it's 95 degrees outside.
Dr. Jessica Mercer with Georgia Dermatology Partners says it's important to know when to seek treatment.
Once you recognize that you may have a condition, okay, my scalp is itchy, there's tenderness of my scalp, I'm excessively shedding, whatever that may be, then we delve into, okay, what then needs to be done to make a diagnosis.
Bridges says more importantly, who you're seeking it from.
I have worked with dermatologists that have misdiagnosed me and said that it was other conditions.
Statistics show only 3% of dermatologists in the U.S. are people of color.
When you talk about male, I mean, it's that number is even lower. I would say it's probably less than 1% for Black males who are dermatologists.
Why Bridges says it's important to be your own advocate.
To make sure that you're dealing with dermatologists and doctors who are doing the research and making it their duty to make sure that they can properly diagnose and work with people from all types of backgrounds.
The dermatologist we spoke to says you can find Black or brown dermatologist in your area by searching these 3 websites. First, the American Academy of Dermatology allows you to search for members by location or doctor's name. The directory can also help you search for specializations within dermatology like pigmentation or acne. Secondly, websites like Skin of Color Society and Hued allow you to search for doctors by state, insurance provider, and specialty.
They uncovered treasure while picking up trash.
It's nice to be able to unload on someone and know that
no judgment.
No judgment, and it'll never go anywhere again.
Up next, an artist and writer separated by decades discover their common ground.
I'm Viv Williams with a medical mythbuster moment. So you're gearing up to go on a vacation in the sun, so you spend your lunch hour outside catching some rays to get a base tan. Here's the myth. Base tans can prevent seaside sunburns.
So we don't recommend the concept of a base tan.
Dr. Dawn Davis, a Mayo Clinic dermatologist, says the idea that base tans protect against sunburns is a myth. She says any sun exposure can cause sun damage and increase your risk of skin cancer. Davis says if you want a golden tan, consider using a self-tanner and always wear sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. With this medical mythbuster, I'm Viv Williams.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. They're free to download.
Kind of like therapy, you know, but it's mutual therapy, I guess.
They were initially inspired to make a difference in their community, but became inspired by one another. Kathy Cobb and AC Daniel have been walking together for years.
Initially, the goal on their walks was to pick up trash and make their community a little cleaner. But it turns out these unlikely friends were inspired to do more than fix their town's trash problem.
Reporter Laura Warren is in Aiken, South Carolina, where these friends are taking the steps to finding a better understanding of one another.
How old were you in 1989?
I wasn't born.
You weren't born yet. That's it.
I'm 95, so you're here a while.
Kathy Cobb and AC Daniel may not look like they have a lot in common.
Oh, I love it when they do that.
45 years separate them, but there's a lot more that connects them.
It's nice to be able to unload on someone and know that
no judgment.
No judgment, and it'll never go anywhere again.
An artist and a writer.
This is AC art.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. That was my first tattoo she let me do on her.
Both thinkers and feelers.
I've written 5 books on chemistry. AC and I have talked about this because when you tell people you're an artist, they go, oh, that's nice. And when you tell people you're a writer, they go, oh, that's nice. You know?
They walk together, talk together,
AC got us going, both my husband and I, on vegan.
and help the environment while they're at it.
We usually fill up both bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah, every week.
They started picking up trash as they spotted it on their walks. Over the years, they've picked up hundreds of pounds of garbage from Aiken streets.
But you see a problem and you do it, you know?
Yeah.
You just do stuff. It's great.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, step right out there.
Yeah.
But,
All fearless.
and it slows him down, see.
Yeah.
They've talked through the good times.
I recently got my story on the cover.
That's the one I sent you.
It's
Yeah.
the first time ever, so yeah.
It's so cool.
Walked through the bad times.
We don't talk that much politics, that's for sure, but
Yeah.
boy, yeah.
But they may be onto something more. We really are better together.
This is so good for me.
Yeah, kind of like therapy, you know, but it's mutual therapy, I guess.
Walking and talking trash.
A lot of blueberries. Oh, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it is.
They never know what they'll find, but they do know it's a simple solution for a lot of complicated problems.
There you go. Oops.
You know, I think we have a common theme in this episode. Spend time with others, meet some people. You know, you may have a connection with someone you never even thought you would.
Yeah, make friends and just start talking. You never know what will come out of it.
All right, that's it for us here on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Thanks for watching.
Next time on Investigate TV Plus, a landmark Supreme Court decision leaves reproductive rights up to states.
I would definitely say it was extremely important to me. The pro-life movement is alive and well, especially among young people.
We have an in-depth look at how health laws are now impacting where some students apply to college.